Hey everyone, it's Brian and Andrew here from IGN, and Andrew, you got to play Ghostbusters World.
I did.
Let me preface that. You have played Pokemon Go, another sort of AR-infused iPhone game where you collect strange beasts in the wild, more than I've seen anyone play any game ever, anywhere of all time in history.
Yeah,
you played that game for
right.
thousands of hours, you've walked millions of miles, you've caught almost all of them.
All of them right now, yeah.
Gotta catch them all, he did it, he did it. And now you're playing Ghostbusters World, or you got to try it out.
Yeah, I went to a demo for it, and it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's very, like, they're not hiding the fact that this is, like, very heavily inspired by Pokemon Go. Like, they referenced it several times. And so, like, the basic elements of it are there. Like, instead of Pokemon, or Pokestops, there are dimension doors, and it's like, you're more likely to find ghosts around those, and, like, you can get items from them, and it's really similar. Like, in Pokemon Go, you incubate eggs by walking. In this, there's, like, these, like, ectoplasms that you need to, like, cultivate to turn into ghosts, and you do that.
Are they like ghost eggs?
They're basically ghost eggs, and you either wait for them, or you can, like, pay to hatch them faster,
Got it. Throw money in the ghost egg and the ghost comes out.
And there are a lot of things like that. Like, this game's definitely, like, it's wearing the microtransaction nature in its sleeve a little bit more, I think.
Interesting.
Like, we did the equivalent of a Pokemon Go raid battle. We fought Stay Puffed at the top of, like, the Empire State Building or whatever. And you don't have to pay to participate in a raid, but if you die, you have to pay to get back in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
so it's like, there are little things like that that are really interesting and kind of twist on stuff.
And so you say we, you meant you and other human beings who had icons of Ghostbuster characters on screen.
Yes, yeah, and like those raid battles, it's up to 4 players, whereas Pokemon Go is like 20-player raid battles. These are like a little smaller scale, and there is PvP in this game, which is something Pokemon Go doesn't have. That wasn't in the build that we played, but you will have a team of like 6 ghosts that you can fight against other people's teams.
Now, Pokemon Go, when it launched, it didn't have a ton of customization options for your Pokemon man catcher, your trainer. What about this game? Like, there are very iconic Ghostbusters. There's, obviously decades of movies and TV shows and comic books and also video games and stuff.
Yeah, and they're really cool about pulling from that universe. So you can choose between a man or a woman, and you can have costumes inspired by Ghostbusters 1, 2, or like the reboot, so just the movies for now. But they said you'll have costumes from like the video games and the comic books and TV and everything else.
So the TV show is like, that's a totally different art style, and it's like very goofy and lighthearted and cartoony.
And I'm hoping they do that. I'm hoping they do like almost like a literal like different texture on it.
Yes.
It's weird because there's a story mode in this game, and so you're playing with the original 4 Ghostbusters, but you're like a new recruit. So it's like the story mode we played, it's written by people who wrote Ghostbusters comic books, and like they're definitely keeping it within the world. But we played a mission in the story mode that's kind of like you're talking to like very stylized cartoony versions of like Egon and the rest of the team, and essentially doing turn-based RPG battles that are a little different than like the actual like, because the mechanic of the actual game, rather than like throwing Pokeballs like you would in Go, the AR stuff is like you find a ghost and you're essentially battling against it. Like it has an HP bar that you have to whittle down and then catch it in a trap.
Okay.
And it's like a really fascinating version of what the Pokemon Go kind of experience is.
I was going to ask you about that because like when millions of people have played Pokemon Go, it's one of the most popular and lucrative video games ever made at this point. But I don't think any of those people would really like scream from the rafters that the gameplay is what's keeping them there.
Yeah.
It's more about the reward. So one, do you feel like the gameplay in this game is enough to keep you going? And two, is the reward there? With Pokemon, you're collecting Pokemon. They're iconic. You've been getting them on since like what, the 90s on Game Boy. On Ghostbusters, there's Slimer.
Exactly. Name one other ghost.
I can't.
Yeah. There's Lady Slimer in this.
Okay, I was not going to go there, but sure.
It's really interesting, yeah, like the franchise just makes sense for Pokemon. Like what you're doing in Pokemon Go fits for Pokemon in a way that Ghostbusters sort of doesn't. And they do have a really interesting, like, there are ghosts from all the kind of things we mentioned, like the comics and the show and the movies, but then they have like new original ghosts, so they have like things inspired by like actual like real life myth and folklore and things like that.
You mean like they're based on real dead people?
No, I mean maybe. One we saw was like a cat from like Egyptian culture that like wasn't in any of the Ghostbusters properties, but like sort of fits. But I don't know, like I think they definitely took a bunch of stuff from Pokemon Go. They thought it all through, and I think they made most of it better, frankly. Like, I do think as a game, mechanically, it does seem like it's doing things really well. I love that they have actual like turn-based RPG battles. They're gonna have daily challenges. They have like 100-floor, like endless dungeon where you can just go and do it every day and get rewards. Like, they really thought it through, and it's cool. But I don't know, I don't have the love for Ghostbusters as a franchise that I had for Pokemon.
Right.
And I don't know, it's kind of an apples to oranges thing. Like, I don't know if people will pick this up in the way they did. Because I don't know if that love for that franchise is quite there in the same way.
Well, it sounds like the gameplay has a lot of refined improvements in it, and you know, if you love Ghostbusters, you're gonna love this game. But I feel like the end result of the reward of actually what you're collecting, because that is basically the goal here, is gonna kind of have like a disconnect with a lot of people who aren't really into Lady Slimer and friends.
yeah, I'll be really curious to see how this one does. But it's coming. I think they're gonna have some kind of beta or pre-registration thing, and they say the final game will be out before the end of the year. So.
All right. So you can play Ghostbusters World on what, iOS and Android?
Yes.
At the end of the year. I'm Brian, and that's Andrew, and Bustin' makes us feel good. For all things Bustin', keep it locked to IGN.